Englishman. I lost a further 15 years fighting wide injustice in my country. The illegal economic sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe by the United States and the European Union violate fundamental principles of the United Nations Charter on state sovereignty and non-interference in the domestic affairs of a sovereign state. Shame, we say, to the United States of America. Shame, 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 we say, to Britain and its allies who have continued to impose sanctions, illegal sanctions upon our people.
Robert Mugabe, of course, never tiring to take on the powers that be, and never tiring to challenge the Western powers. I mean, that one we cannot take away from him.
Sanctions are war. Let's understand that. Maybe let's underline it. Over and above the economic issues, when you declare sanctions on a country, that's economic war. Over and above maybe chemical warfare or militarization, when you impose sanctions, you're actually declaring war on a certain state.
Well, I suppose the political tool, isn't it? Because even here in South Africa, we had to go and argue overseas for them to punish the apartheid regime by those sanctions. But these days, people talk, about complicated terms such as targeted sanctions. So to say, well, your people are starving, why are you flying around the world with your wife shopping in the capitals of the world?
The tricky part of that is that when you do sanctions on a country, usually the leaders never suffer those sanctions. The real people who suffer are the common people. And on a similar wavelength, you find America, 52 states, Europe, India, and China. Continents have isolated Africa into countries. And continental policies imposed on a country, the pressure is much. No country in Africa will survive a relationship with a continent. And I think the Europeans, the Americans, the Chinese, and the Indians have actually mastered to understand that African divisions as countries. Right now, you quote a story in South Africa, for example, and then the whole xenophobic story, isolating each African country by ourselves.
Terrible.
Then they will be able to rape all of us and no one can complain to the other. Until we understand how do we come together as an African nation.
And unite around key issues such as economic development. Right? But to do that, we also need to get our house to be in order. You understand?
Who puts the house in order when the same powers that be are not interested in having houses in order?
No, our own leaders, I'm saying, that's why I want to talk about lessons. That I don't think we need to encourage a situation where people, believe that they have a God-given right to remain in power until they die. We've got to be able to say, South Africa is rich with leadership, right? It's rich with intellectual prowess. And so, you can't tell me that in Zimbabwe there's not been anybody who could have replaced Mugabe even after his first or second term, with Mugabe being involved in what we call leadership grooming or what you call succession planning. Surely those must be lessons we shouldn't sort of scoff at because the alternative narrative means that we were pandering to the West and so on.
Let's twist it nicely so that we put it in context. America started its civilization in 1798. We have 200, 300 years of jurisdiction and legislation that has accumulated to a certain level of culture and center. I'm not lying to you. You can put a dog to run America. America will not collapse because all the systems are in place. Africa is still arguing the first document, human rights, which is the first document, the foundation. Every African leader who gets into power starts off with the Human Rights Charter. And that being said, therefore, it's not even safe that every 3 years. I've been here for a couple of years. You have an election right now. After election, it's 1 to 2 years of planning, 1 year of work, 2 years of exit plan.
And campaigning.
No one wants to do a contract. So literally, government officers work for less than 1.5 years on the 5-year term. That's why you find that poverty is translated. And every leader who comes...
And development is stunted by that. But on the other extreme, 30 years.
It's too long. It's 30 years.
If you can make a difference in 10 years, in 15 years, why do you think another 15 years is going to make any difference? I think we need to be able to not sugarcoat this thing. There is hunger for power that doesn't translate into development for the population of Africa.
That needs to be discussed within the party itself. That we cannot blame one man. In as much as there could be draconian concepts and hands around his leadership. But at the end of the day, if we say legitimately that ZANU-PF or ANC or ZAPLA or SWAPO is responsible as a national political party or the bigger political party to drive the politics of the country. We cannot walk around one morning again in a democratic space and now blame one leader for being a dictator. The political system itself, therefore, needs to be blamed as a whole. And in totality, we appreciate Nelson Mandela. He gave us Babu Thabo Mbeki. And the question is, whom did Babu Thabo Mbeki give us? And who did Tate Muthlante give us? Who did Jacob Zuma give us? And who is Ramaphosa giving us? It's a sickness in the African continent that when you get in power, you don't train anybody else to take after you.
That's the big man syndrome.
We cannot argue on
just
that.
There.
That's a weakness for me. Because
it's
every tree...
We are just saying we mustn't blame the big man. We must blame those around him.
Actually, you will
who benefit from that syndrome.
You will hear it better if I tell you that even ANC is trapped. There is always a crisis of leadership on the evening of every election. Because no president takes it upon himself, like what Madiba did.
To groom the next
develop
leader.
Right now, let me throw it to you. After Ramaphosa, who is next?
My God.
No, just...
My God.
Yes. Who is next?
Makashule.
Makashule. Okay.
And we are now in deep trouble.
I would say Mabuza, but we don't know.
I think I will go for better for Mabuza. I will go for Mabuza.
Yeah, but we don't know. And it's not intentional. It's not intentional leadership. Where you...
It's accidental.
Somewhere... I'm even wondering with the 2-3 recalls that have happened, if our honorable... that the Ramaphosa will also be recalled, and who will be driving the recalling behind that.
Oh, my goodness.
So maybe from the Mugabe legacy, we can learn as African leaders, do not undermine young children. Don't undermine your youth that are within your ranks. I'm looking at what happened to Malema. I'm looking at what happened to Bombalula. I'm looking at what happened to the youth issues that you always have heavy elbows, even the women issue. When Beck was in power, we thought that the women were going to get in power. It was almost getting there. And on the evening of election, tables turned.
Absolutely.
And now, right now, we're dealing with women abuse and child abuse. Maybe had we had a woman president, maybe these women issues could have been taken higher priority than where we are right now.
Sure. All right. Tell me about the xenophobic... how you interpret today 300 Nigerians getting onto a plane saying bye-bye, out of here.
I was listening to one of your submissions on how do we sow and how do we plant seeds of anger amongst each other.
And hatred.
I am Piri from Malawi, the monkey from Malawi. And the monkey in Malawi is Shoko Vutijena in Zimbabwe. Which is Kabo.
Kabu.
In the Tswana, Kimtweneng in the Sutu. Jambase in the Kosa. Fakud Zemtolo.
Cut from the same cloth.
It's a monkey is a monkey. Ubanda is a lion. Sibanda, Shumba, Tsibande, Mgonyama. How does a Mgonyama kill a Sibanda from Zimbabwe? Our totemic
ignorance.
Our totemic inclination.
You could kill your cousin.
By the way, Mugabe is Ngwenya. Is Gushungo. Kimkwena.
Hebatu.
Kimkwena. So when now Utabulaya Gushungo. Umukwena in South Africa, not knowing you're actually killing your own blood brother. So I think maybe the first thing is the ignorance. And by the way, when you're flying into Abuja, there's a big rock there. Guess what they call the rock? Google it up. Zuma.
No.
Telling you, even shaped like Babu Zuma. And I was like, in Nigeria, if you would have a name, Zuma.
He has a statue there.
In KwaZulu-Natal, there's a tribe of people called Zuma. Are there no inclinations here? Where do we miss it? I think we have one big family. We've just forgotten how to respond to each other's linguistic differences. But in terms of our blood, as African people, I think we are linked.
We are one.
We are one.
We are one. How do you think we can change this mentality of South Africans thinking they are better? And
it won't happen now.
For lack of a better representation.
It won't happen now. I think what we must do, we must rewrite our history books, like from scratch, and begin to relate the liberation of South Africa correctly, so that our children in primary school, in creche, our programming on entertainment, on TV and movies, can begin to reveal the true picture. In Tanzania, for example, you have a whole ANC village that is there, including the children that the cadres who were here who are still there. Right now, for those children to come here, it's a big mission of visas and passports and immigration.
In Angola, there are over 320
Zambia is the same thing.
Graves of comrades who have not been repatriated.
Now, if South Africa was serious, why not open up a Heroes Acre in South Africa and go and collect all your people in other countries and come and bury them here and let's celebrate?
At the moment, people of Angola could go and desecrate those graves at the rate we are going now.
And you are killing Angolans in South Africa.
And you believe it.
You know?
we're in trouble, man.
So maybe what we also learn from Mugabe, Kaunda, and the rest of them, let's not undermine even Nigeria. The amount of money that countries put towards the liberation of South Africa was quite much, and actually Mugabe also contributed. That's one of the legacies, that as leaders, they were responsible for the freedom of the neighboring countries.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time.
That's fine.
We're going to have to leave it there, but you must come back.
We will wait.
You have a permanent invitation. Come in. Apparently, you've got something on social media there.
Absolutely, JJ, with several WhatsApps coming in. Let me just look at the first one, Gunyisi here, saying, JJ, Mr. Maponga sounds like he's defending Mugabe and placing the blame on the people. One question for Joshua, what could he have done better for the better prosperity of the country?
All right.
Andile here, there's no cry for Mugabe as much as there was for Nelson. I believe Mugabe was the last revolutionary of Southern Africa, echoing your words there. And David here saying, what does your guest mean by Mugabe liberated Zim? He was admitted in an overseas hospital and wasted taxpayers' money. They collapsed Zimbabwe after 38 years in charge. He's like congratulating a bird for flying. Nonsensical. He sacrificed his life for himself and not his country. On that note, JJ, it's back to you.
All right, thank you. Carmen. Let's round off. Just in terms of that question, I think it's an important question as we round off the conversation. What could he have done better? Maybe if you ask the question that way, I could try and solicit one answer from you. What could he have done better?
Develop leadership.
Okay.
Develop a succession plan. Don't be surprised by leadership. Secondly, develop indigenous systems. Have a good external policy that marries the internal policies. And negotiate your way around critical deals. And when people back down on their deals, like what London did on the Lancaster House Agreement on land, maybe that's where the ICC should have come into place and find international mediation. But we know the international mediation is not involved and very much active. United Nations watches when countries are going to war. So until a man takes the law in his own hands on some of these issues, there's very little that he can do.
And the health system, he died in Singapore, he's been going there up and down.
On that one, I can throw a stone.
Interestingly, you said he created, what, 19,000 beds.
I can throw a big stone on that one, if you allow me to be objective. For the 15, 20, 30 million that he spent going to Singapore, he could have taken that 30, 60 million, developed one hospital.
One clinic.
With a bed for the presidential suite. And then he could have, but on that one, I have no excuse, actually, that maybe he could have done better on
But
that.
he's not alone. I mean, so many African presidents, even Buhari, Buhari, spent 3 months in Paris.
In France, yes.
In France.
Yes,
So there seems to be a problem of African leaders not investing enough in our health system to a point where themselves can't trust it.
They can't trust their own education. Their children are not studying here. Their health is not being handled from here. Their cars and appetites are not being flown from here. They fly wines and champagnes from Greece and from Italy and etc. So they say Mugabe, for example, in my own mischievous corner, they say Mugabe is an African. I say, no, he's actually a well-trained British gentleman, yes.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Joshua.
Blessings.
Thank you so much, Ndate, man. You know, your wisdom, please keep it up. Don't tire. You know, people who have radical views like yourself often can be placed on the margins of society. So don't tire.
Thank you.
To engage the country in conversation.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did. Robert Mugabe's legacy, obviously a mixed one that will continue to be debated ad infinitum. Let's take a break now.